And we are back on the 4 p.m. 411 with part 2 this week, going a full hour again this week, as we did last week. Once again, tomorrow morning, 8:15, Bill Gossett will have representatives from the Lincoln Women's Club in. That will be Elaine Dobahall and Ruth Sloot, the membership chair and a past president. And that will be 8:15 to 9 tomorrow. But this afternoon, if I can get my camera squared away here, we do have another guest, and it is Julianna Nordman. I actually said it right that time. She is with the Atlanta Public Library and Museum. She's the museum director as well as the program director, and you've got some stuff happening this weekend.
Yeah, so we're really excited. Our museum is opening, our opening weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Our hours are going to be from 11 to 3 p.m. this weekend. We have all brand new exhibits. Every exhibit has either been completely redone or slightly redone, kind of reshaped. A lot of them haven't been redone or touched in years, so that's no fun. You want to go to, especially for our locals. That's our target always. Is we want to, we want our locals to come in. So you can't have the same exhibits every single year. Then it's boring. So we got all kinds of new stuff. We have never before heard stories. One of them is about, it's been probably almost a year and a half in the making now of us collecting the story, curating the story, and then putting it out on the air. So that one is all about the Atlanta High School. So before Olympia, we had the Atlanta High School here in town. Before that, we had a seminary here in town. So this current school is actually our fourth school here. And so we have our old mascot. His name is Elmer. He was a Red Wing. That's
okay. I remember the Red Wings.
Yes. And so his name was Elmer, and it was never quite understood why he was named Elmer, but we did a lot of research and reaching out to people and kind of stuff like that, getting an oral history as good as we could. So that is going to be on display. It's a beautiful exhibit. I'm very excited about it. We were hoping to have it last year, and it just didn't quite work out. We have all kinds of other stuff out. The story of the founding of Atlanta, because Atlanta, the name Atlanta is actually our third name. We were named 2 other names before that. In Atlanta is what stuck. We have an exhibit on an old police officer. His name was Tubby Mason. He's such a character. He was involved with everything. He was part of a really important trial that was in town, all kinds of stuff. So that's great. We got very exciting new exhibits. So we're super excited. So our regular hours this season from now until probably September, it just kind of really varies on what tourists are like, because we're here also for tourist season. They're going to be Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday, 11 to 3. We're hoping that it's going to be spread out. We're hoping to be open 7 days a week, but we really, really heavily rely on volunteers. Me and my co-director, Christina, can't do everything. So we are hoping that we get other volunteers to come out. Last year, we had a lot of high schoolers that were around.
Oh, nice.
So that was super helpful, but it's just they're still in school right now. They can't think about that. So yeah, so that'll be happening as well. We still have our arcade museum there that'll be open. So it'll be super exciting. So we're very much looking forward to this.
So it's opening weekend this coming weekend, this Saturday.
Yes, Saturday, and then we are going to be open Sunday as well, just because it's our opening weekend. It's easier to have an opening weekend rather than an opening day than close the day.
Right.
But so that's kind of what the plan is there, and we're going to go from there. So, yeah.
Okay. And as far as the museum goes, you mentioned how the exhibits you've got, like the Red Wing one, for example, took a while to get put together. Is that typical for the exhibits that you have in the museum, that it takes a while to compile the information? Yeah.
So what have a lot of people... So I unfortunately have something going against me. I'm not a native from Atlanta.
Shame on you.
I know. I know. I was raised small town, not as small as Atlanta, but I was raised small town. But everything that I know about Atlanta is acquired knowledge. So everything, it's been told via oral history. It's been told by research. Our museum has all of our old newspaper, the Atlanta Argus, from the 1800s until the 60s, 70s. We have all of that, and it's all reading all of that, compiled compiling all of that, using our old books. There's been people in town that have wrote books on Atlanta and the surrounding area that we use. They're not always 100% accurate, but it's all about like, what is someone telling me? What does this book say? What does this book say? Let's use what all three things have in common, and that's the information that we're going to use, because we don't want to spread false information. We want to, that's all for what a museum is, and especially since we're associated with the library, we're here to educate. So it can take, like I said, years. A lot of this is everything, that I know. I could start spitting fast facts if you really wanted me to, but can be, a lot of people don't realize that it's not just about putting artifacts out and everything. It's also about telling a story, because that's what we do. That's our job. So
sure, and that's an important thing that kind of is becoming a lost art, I think, is that whole independent confirmation about facts, and sometimes people will hear something and just sort of accept it about, okay, well, this person said that, so it must be true, but not always the case.
Oral history, I love oral history. I love oral history so much, but you can't trust people's memories. Memories are not trustworthy. So I'm always triple checking myself of like, I read that somewhere. Where did I read that? Let's go find that again. And I'm always calling. We have people in town that I call, 4 or 5 times a day if I'm working, being like, hey, what did you tell me about this again? And then call, using other people as well and asking them their side of, kind of what happened. So that way it's like the art of storytelling is what we're trying to do. And so it's very difficult and it's very time consuming, but.
So once again, our guest is Julianna Nordman. She is with the Atlanta Public Library and Museum, which will be having its opening weekend this coming Saturday and Sunday. So you can hop online to the Facebook page or the website, I'm guessing, has your hours as well. We will be back with more with Julianna right after this. And we are back on the 4 p.m. 411 with our guest, Julianna Nordman. She's with the Atlanta Public Library and Museum, telling us about the upcoming opening weekend for the museum. Once again, 217-648-5510 if you have questions about the museum or about things, maybe comments. You've gone to past exhibits and enjoyed what you saw, or have suggestions for possible other topics they might want to look about, consider exhibits for. But Julianna, we were talking off the air a little bit about your programming and about the what you offer at the museum. And in the first segment, of course, you mentioned how it sometimes it takes a matter of years to actually put things together. My question that I was asking you off the air was, you mentioned the Red Wing exhibit. You mentioned the information about the officer, Tubby Mason.
Yeah, there you go.
And so are all of your programs, are they Atlanta focused, or are there some that are maybe with a little more wider, like general appeal or general focus?
Yeah, so...
Because they're all appealing, of course.
Thank you so much. So a lot of them are specifically Atlanta, or about specific things in Atlanta. But we do have, like, I always talk about Atlanta. I love Atlanta. Is that, there's a couple things that needed to exist all at the same time for Atlanta to exist, and it's railroads and agriculture. So we have, in the process of kind of cleaning out and reorganizing ourselves, we've come across a lot of old donations that were donated in the early to mid 70s in our museum that haven't seen the light of day since, or may not have even been on display. So we have a really great agriculture exhibit that's coming out, talking about the significance of agriculture and the difference between kind of what Atlanta used to look like. It used to be divided between a prairie and timberland, and then it was kind of, the settlers here were so used to the woods that they were farming there, and then they were like, well, there's so much open field, let's try that instead, and prairie ended up being more successful. So Illinois is the prairie state. That's kind of what we're known for. So we have a ton of generic kind of older stuff from agriculture on display. So we have, it was written in the 70s. We don't quite know the age on it. Some of our records have been lost with years or just were never kept. And I assume it to be a probably about 200-year-old pitchfork that's made completely out of wood. We have it's gorgeous. It's in great shape for it being that old. We also have, one of those old mauls that are just wooden, the huge wooden hammers. It's very heavy. We have an old scythe. We have a piece, an artifact that it took us forever to find out what it was. We called every possible person we could. My co-director, Christina, ended up having to call her nephew, who is 19, and was like, you work on farms. Do you know what this is? And it is an old wooden wagon jack that used to prop up the wagon when they were fixing the wheels. So it's beautiful. It works. So that's on display. So that's kind of more generic of, this is kind of what agriculture looked in Atlanta, and it looked everywhere else there as well. Our military exhibit is a little bit more generic as well as the military, but it does feature obvious artifacts from the area. So
Sure. Okay. And how do you decide what exhibits you will put on display for the public? Does it basically have to do with what you have in sort of in-house that you're able to display, or do you ever get any sort of traveling exhibits that folks might talk to you about having an exhibit?
Yes and no. So a lot of it is like, what do people find interesting? And that kind of has changed over the years. And it's hard to keep up with, what, if I put something on display, what is something that's going to be interesting? So like 2 years ago, before I had this title, but I still worked there, our old director, she had put out a funeral home exhibit. We had an embalming table, we had a baby casket, we had all this stuff out. And a lot of the older community was like, that's creepy, that's weird. We don't want to see that. However, our younger community was like, this is so cool. Like, think of all the history that's here. So it's all about kind of what we have, what we find. So like I said, a lot of our records have been lost with years. So part of the issue is we don't know what we have. So we're reorganizing, kind of going through that whole process, finding cool things, and then putting it together. So like I mentioned in our earlier segment, it's all about telling a story. So what do we have? What information do I have? And how can I make that cohesive together? We also have tons of other people regularly donating things to us, which is super fun. We had someone in town last year that approached me and was like, I found this. I don't want it. You guys can have it. It's an old movie reel from the Palace Theater that it was in town. He got it actually digitized. he didn't give us like the digital copy of it. I don't know if he had one, but it was all printed on it. And it was an old advertisement from, we narrowed down the year. I believe it's Christmas of 1954, just based on the information we have of the different advertisers, of like, thanks to our sponsors. And that would be playing before the movie.
Right.
So we have that on display now. So that's really cool. And it's just kind of stuff like that where we kind of take what we get and then go from there.
Yeah, try and find a theme or some way to bring it all together. Do you have any, or you mentioned how the funeral exhibit was off-putting more or less to one age group versus the other age group.
Right.
Do you take that into consideration? Like, do you have a certain age or demographic that you try to do exhibits for? Or do you say, all right, this one's for maybe the older generation, this one's for the younger?
Yes,
how does that work?
Yes and no. So we try to make it as open as possible for people. It's like an art to it of like. So we know there's a specific demographic in town. Those are the people that went to Atlanta High School. That high school is always going to be near and dear to their hearts.
Right.
How can we use that love that they have for that school and make it more interesting for the people that didn't go to school there? So one of the other exhibits that we have that is brand new this year about the school is, like I said, this is the fourth school that we've had. The first two burned down. And it's all been on the same lot. So that story hasn't really been told before. It's been known, but it hasn't been told. So now we're telling that story because it's more interesting, but also still has that love for school.
Okay. And once again, if you're tuning in late, this is Julianna Nordman that we're speaking with from the Atlanta Public Library and Museum. 217-648-5510, the number here at the radio station if you have questions or comments. Also, don't forget to tune in again tomorrow at 8:15 for Viewpoint with Bill Gossett. His guests will be Ellen Dobahall, the membership chair of the Lincoln Women's Club, as well as Ruth Sloot, who is a past president of the organization. We'll go ahead and take our last break here, and we will have more with Julianna Nordman from the Atlanta Public Library and Museum right after this. We are back on the 4 p.m. 411, our last segment here with Julianna Nordman from the Atlanta Public Library and Museum. We've been talking primarily about the museum as it will have its opening weekend and some festivities for that this weekend at the museum. But as we mentioned, it is the library and museum. There are a few programs happening at the library that said you give a shout out to
Yeah.
in our last part.
For sure. So tomorrow night we are having another family movie night. We know that they're not going to be super well attended right now because school's still going on, little kids and stuff. And I can't tell you the movie that we're showing. If you look on our website, you can see what it is. However, I know that's kind of inconvenient if you're driving or whatever listening to this. So it is a movie starring Robin Williams about a board game.
Okay.
That should give you a good idea. It's the older one, the one that is Robin Williams in it, not the newer one. So that's tomorrow at 7. We offer free popcorn. We have free soda. You can come. We have kids that regularly come in their pajamas with a blanket and all their stuffed animals and lay out and kind of watch the movie there. We also have a program going on through the library that's run by my co-director called 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten. That's for our preschool aged people in the area, our kiddos that their parents want them to read 1,000 books before they turn 5, before they go to school. So that's something that you can sign up. It's a national program that Christina has decided to start. We also have regularly attended cooking classes that are programmed between now. We just released more for the month of June, I believe. So we are excited about those. We have one coming up on Monday and then the following Monday as well. If you want to, or not the following Monday, it's the Monday after. I don't know the date. It's every other Monday. But we are excited about that. Not the one coming up, but the one after. Christina is going to teach how to make homemade noodles.
Okay.
So that one is actually already almost filled up. So if you want to learn that, you better call us, 217-648-2112, and sign up for it. So.
Okay. And it was a series of 4 classes this year, I believe.
4.
for food.
Yeah, so we have them regularly scheduled. We just didn't advertise them all at once because that's too much information for people because they go all the way out until September. But you can kind of look on our websites and see which ones we have registered, see which ones we have people, or the recipes are on there as well.
Oh, okay.
So you can find out that all that information on our website. It's all there. It's atlantapld.org. Everything's there, so.
Okay, very cool. And sorry, I was checking another item. Did you mention the 1,000 books program?
I did.
You did? Okay. All right. So we've got like 4-ish minutes left here to talk with you about Atlanta Public Library and Museum.
So our museum, like I said, it's opening weekend this weekend. So it's 29th and 30th. We're going to be open on both days from 11 to 3 p.m. So it's going to be very exciting to come out. You can see our new exhibits. The arcade is going to be on from last year. We do have some new machines that are in there. So you're welcome to come and play. We also have, like I said, all new exhibits. Everything's going to be in tip-top shape by Saturday morning. So we're very excited. So we hope that you guys come out and see it. I know a lot of people have been kind of waiting and, there's been rumors about the museum not opening because we're opening later, but we didn't see the reason to open earlier. We don't have tourists right now.
Right.
And we don't get enough locals in to donate that provide us the money that would make sense for us to be open.
Sure.
So we're still opening in April, and we'll be open all the way, hopefully through September, but as of right now, to September. And then, we're super excited. We hope that you come out.
Now, for those who might not be aware, we talk about the Atlanta Public Library and Museum. There's the library, and then I've also, in putting events in our calendar, there are several events at Union Hall. We talk about the video arcade. So can you kind of take us through the physical facilities you have going on there?
Sometimes it's very confusing. So I don't even understand. So we have the library. That's the library building. That's the 8-sided octagon building sitting on the corner of Race and Arch. It faces the street, and then it's right next to the railroad. So that's where all of our books are. You can check out. That's where most our hub is. Then we have our clock tower, which we also own and operate. Then we also have our museum. So in our museum, we have Union Hall. Union Hall is like our big ballroom space. That's where we have people rent out for baby showers. We have a baby shower next weekend. We've had a couple weddings. We have people just 4-H club in town regularly uses it. So that's in our space. We also have office spaces that are available for lease right now that are up there as well. Then we also have our museum that's also there. And we also own the Palms Grill, and that is rented out by Missy Gaither, Missy Sweet Shop, great bakery. Super excited. Love that place. It's horrible to work in that building because I'm like, she's making cookies today. And so then I'm like, Missy, you're here. So then I'll go and spend all of my paycheck down there. But so I know it's kind of confusing, but if you see anything about the museum or the library, know that it's all the same thing. It's just separated into different spaces.
Okay. And then where does the video game part fit into all that?
Right. So we have we're also the Logan County Visitor Center are one of them. The other ones are in Elkhart and Lincoln. I think there's one more, but I can't remember. Anyways, so if you walk into our visitor center, which is on the corner of Race and Arch, you can see on the right is going to be a big room that has all of our arcade. And then right in front of you is our craft room. That's where we hold all of our kids' programs and everything. And then to the left, then the next building is where our museum is. Okay. So it's kind of like a maze, but it's
amazing.
Yeah, there you go. See, there you go.
The promotion writes itself. So
Thank you.
Once again, our guest has been Julianna Nordman with the Atlanta Public Library and Museum, having its opening. Not a ceremony, but opening event this weekend. Or you can have a ceremony if you want to.
We don't plan on it. If you want to come do the ceremony, you're welcome.
I'll check my calendar. Maybe we'll make that happen. So.
11 a.m. Saturday morning.
Okay, 11 a.m. Saturday, and that is in the museum.
Yes, that will be in the museum. Okay. So I will be there. At least I will be there. So it'll be super fun. So come on over and check us out.
And once again, if people have questions or want to find out more information, social media website.
So we have our website, atlantapld.org. We have our Facebook and our Instagram, Atlanta Library and Museum. We have our phone number, 217-648-2112. We have email addresses that you can contact us. I'm not going to list all of those because there's too many to list, but you can see on our website. So just contact us if you have questions, if you have suggestions. We love taking museum suggestions. It's all about the public, so we are there to serve. So
okay, super. Well, thanks for being with us. We're going to hit network news here, but we will talk to you again soon. The preceding program is a presentation of WLCN 96.3 FM and WLCNonline.com.